So there is a video from an Olivia Rodrigo concert that is going viral right now, showing not Olivia Rodrigo, but some of her adolescent fans screaming out her lyrics in the crowd emotionally, like they're breaking out into tears over this song. The song is called Pretty Isn't Pretty, and it's about beauty standards and how plagued we are as women by unattainable beauty standards in society today. And it is a sad video because you're looking at this young girl who is clearly, struggles with her self-esteem. That's why she is having this emotional outburst at the concert. But the standout from the video is actually one of the girl's fathers in the crowd, who is looking around at the girls singing along to this song and getting emotional over the response that they have to it. So let's watch the video and we'll get your reactions. By the end of the video is tearing up himself hearing the song for the first time. One of the tweets said, "A dad looking into the crowd seeing young girls around his daughter's age scream the same heartbreaking lyrics about not being enough. I'm in tears." What are your first thoughts?
What do you mean about the dad? Or about the whole thing?
This whole thing?
I mean, isn't it
your impression?
I was never a teenage girl, but I assume that feeling inadequate is part of every teenager, most teenagers' experience. Like, nobody grows up perfectly confident and self-assured, and going through those phases is part of growing up. It's actually one of the mechanisms you learn to kind of harden your heart to the world and be able to grow into a certain level of self-confidence, is that you have to go through a phase where you're insecure about yourself.
Right.
Like, this feels par for the course for lyrics for teenage girls to me.
Well, the problem I have is the message of the song, truly. I don't think that it helps anyone to scream these lyrics about how inadequate you feel. I don't think that actually has any value. It just encourages these girls to sink deeper into the self-hatred they already struggle with. And obviously Olivia Rodrigo and her record label make money off of it. The song has a description: an emotional and heartfelt reflection on self-positivity and female physical expectations. The song describes the ever-changing fashion trends and ideals in the current time, in which all girls seem to follow and coincide. Olivia describes how these expectations and norms are plastered all over different types of media around her, and feels as though she cannot keep up or ultimately fit in, because no matter what she does, she'll never feel perfect. And yeah, that's a totally normal thing to feel as an adolescent girl or boy, for different reasons in different ways. I just don't think that it's constructive to encourage this impressionable young audience to scream along to these lyrics, which are completely about sinking deeper into those feelings of inadequacy.
Look, this type of music from women has always existed, and I suppose it ran in tandem with hopefully good parenting that would balance your life out, and you would sing along to these lyrics when you were at your most vulnerable in your bedroom, when you're feeling down, but it wouldn't overtake your entire life. And the hope would be that it doesn't lead to further feelings of inadequacy. I'm guessing their argument is that it helps other girls feel like they're not alone in the world, to hear that it's not just them that's going through it. That's what I would imagine both Olivia Rodrigo's argument would be, as well as most of the people who are into this type of stuff, is that they commiserate. You know, we've talked a lot about how women, they do love the idea of commiseration. They come together around things that a lot of times, things that upset them. It's why women love to make the videos online about bad dates or things like that, is it gives them a sense of community. I don't think it's inherently bad for them, outside of maybe in conjunction with like no good parental influences at home, nobody showing you healthy self-esteem. And like for a guy, it would be like if there was no healthy sign of masculinity in your household, signs of what they call toxic masculinity, anybody could call that bad if you don't have anything that contradicts it in the real world. And that sharing these types of feelings is like immortalizing something you feel in the moment into something that you can then feel at any time by playing the song. I make the joke all the time that like Nicki Minaj makes music for women to sing along to in the car when they're feeling self-confident. And then this is music you listen to in your bedroom. But
to me, it's just as empty. If it's a contrived song about self-love and thinking that you're the hottest bitch, you're a bad bitch or whatever, it's just as empty as this song, which is about like, I'm not a bad bitch, I'm a sad bitch. Like,
I mean, any mass marketed product is going to be inherently empty.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the parenting dimension of this, because I think that the most disheartening aspect of that video is the fact that a parent is bringing his daughter to this concert having no clue what the messages of this artist's songs are. Having no clue what the lyrics say. Yeah. It could have been anything, and it would have been the first time that he heard it. That's bad parenting right there. You should know what type of media your children are consuming. And also, another aspect of the parenting side of things is your daughter wouldn't be exposed to all of these images plastered in the media if she didn't have a smartphone. There's some parts of it that you can't escape. I guess a billboard on the side of the road, or maybe if you're watching TV together or something. But for the majority, the reason why these adolescent girls feel this way and feel so deeply these lyrics is because they're on social media, on their smartphones alone, which they shouldn't be if they were actually receiving proper parenting. They should not be exposed to the influence of these, social media public figures. They shouldn't have Instagram at that age. It's obviously a bad idea. It's been around for long enough that parents should know better. When I downloaded Instagram at 12 years old, I don't think that my parents could have known what Instagram was going to become in the next 10 years.
Of parents did.
But the parents who were taking their daughters to Olivia Rodrigo concerts in 2025 definitely have enough information to know that that's a bad idea. So ideally, your daughter would never relate to a song like this in the first place about disordered eating and taking prescription psychoactive drugs and trying to get plastic surgery or lip fillers. Like, these are all the things that are being invoked in this song. Ideally, you can raise your child these days without the influence of social media, and they will never feel this way to begin with. That's what's most disheartening about it.
You were playing a clip from the Snoop Dogg interview earlier. We didn't talk about it on the show because it wasn't relevant to what we were discussing, where one of the hosts was talking about how her daughter came home and was like, I have anxiety, I have depression. I think I have depression because her school was teaching her about anxiety.
To raise awareness.
I actually have more of a problem with it being taught in schools than I do in music, which is like an outlet for people, and art is not supposed to be interpreted, theoretically is not supposed to be interpreted with the same real world connotation as somebody who has, credentials, the credentials of a teacher to come in and talk about those things to you, where you would inherently put more weight onto it like that. Like I said, music to me, like when music speaks to you, it's supposed to speak to you in the moment and not necessarily with the right upbringing and with decent parental influences and a balanced life. It's not going to be indicative of your entire existence. but it can speak to an aspect of your personality that may come out from time to time, whereas I have more of a problem with it if something like that is coming from a teacher or an educator.
But I just feel like it's sinister nonetheless. Like, obviously music is more emotional in nature than something that's part of like your school curriculum, for sure. But it's just like you can justify anything under the guise of raising awareness, or I guess in Olivia Rodrigo's case, commiserating or making your fans feel like they're not alone in feeling this way. You can pretty much justify anything.
I mean, she doesn't
under
even need
that.
to, in my opinion, she doesn't even need to do that. All she has to say is, this is something I wrote that's personal to me, and leave it at that. Like, the rest of it is just excuses and marketing.
I don't really even blame her so much as I blame the parents, because their daughters shouldn't feel this way in the first place. And the only reason they feel this way is because they have TikTok and they have Instagram. They shouldn't have those things. It's very easy, actually, to raise an adolescent girl. It's actually easier to raise an adolescent girl who doesn't have these things.
In my opinion, there's probably more, if we were to put blame onto something, I would say that TikTok is doing more damage to them than the lyrics in the song. But that's also, I might be biased because growing up deaf in one ear, like I barely could even hear the lyrics to most of the songs. I'm basically just nodding along, kind of half hearing everything. So
we also see that they're all holding up their phones, which people do obnoxiously at concerts now.
Yeah.
Why do they do that? Because they have social media, which they shouldn't have. Like, if you're taking if your daughter is young enough where you're taking her to a concert, first of all, you should know exactly who this artist is, what their messaging is in their songs, what their lyrics say, and you should also know what media your child is consuming. And clearly the dad in this video hasn't done those things.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a bit shocking to him, especially if depending on how guarded she is, she might not share these things with him. I don't know, we don't know what his life is like at home. She might share this stuff more with her mom than with her dad, and he's just out there trying to be a good dad and take her to see this concert, and it's speaking to something she's feeling in the moment. But also, here's the thing, if he overlooks into it and he starts asking her all sorts of questions about it when she's really just singing along to lyrics of the song, again, that might be something she feels in specific moments when the lyrics really hit. Right? But if he starts asking her a ton of questions about, like, do you really feel it? Like, he risks pathologizing it even farther than
Dad,
it already
shut
is.
up.
Yeah, like, that's good. That's a good response. If she's like, Dad, like, like, Dad, I was just feeling a certain type of way about the song. But if he starts getting all, emotional about it and asking her about it, you risk, just like the teachers do, making it more of a thing than it already was.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a dad. I'm not a parent. I can't pretend to know I imagine that it's terrifying to raise a girl, like a little girl, in this day and age. I mean, I'm sure it's always been that way. Beauty standards being what they have always been in Hollywood. There was the whole Photoshop discussion that was going on when I was in my
airbrushing.
Airbrushing. That was a whole thing.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation before. I said it seems like it would be infinitely less scary to raise a boy than to raise a little girl in the culture that we live in these days. And with the way that phones have taken over the culture, and
both are scary for their own reasons. And I'm just saying, you don't need to be a parent to know that kids shouldn't have social media.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need firsthand experience to know that. It's like very basic, like, what not to do as a parent 101. Don't give your 12-year-old daughter a smartphone that has TikTok and Instagram on it.
Yep.
Like, wild, novel concept. And that's to make no mention of the fact that Olivia Rodrigo...
She gets a rotary phone in her room. If she wants to make a phone call, she has to do this.
But that's not even to mention the fact that Olivia Rodrigo, specifically, has passed out Plan B and lube and condoms at her concerts that have all these little girls at them. So
I can
confidently say Olivia Rodrigo is a bad influence.
I would be more upset about him not knowing about that than not knowing, like imagine, like, you're like, nobody told me being a dad was going to be this difficult.
And then it just starts
in the Olivia Rodrigo CD and
it just starts raining condoms.
No, I'm picturing him. He's like, gotta go. My daughter has to go to this concert, and then he hits play on the album and has to listen to the whole thing through, and and determine whether that's acceptable.
He looks around and all of the little girls at the concert are taking these pills and he's like, what's going on?
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.